Hey guys, this is Jake with P3. In this video we're going to show you how to install the display portion of your boost or multi-gauge for the 07 through 15 Audi R8. We've got our OEM vent here, we've got our display here. It will help to use a little bit of masking tape on this one. The first thing we want to have you do is go ahead and verify that your gauge is working properly before you start this installation process. You can just do this by setting up the gauge in your vehicle. You can just set this right on your lap. Go ahead and plug everything in, start the car up. It should start sending out information to you. At that point you can just scroll through with the buttons, make sure the different readouts work correctly and that it's responding correctly. So we're good. I've got my test rig here. We're good on this display to go ahead and start the install. So go ahead and take your vent, and basically what we need to do is we want to peel up the bottom part of this face and separate it from the body of the vent, but we can't really remove it all the way since it is plastic welded. I should say we don't need to remove it all the way. We can get access to just the bottom. So the first thing I do is I like to take this clip off just to avoid scratching anything. So I'll take a little screwdriver in there and just kind of work back and forth, and I'll get that little clip off. And we will need to reuse this, so just set that to the side. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is there's all these small clips going up the side, and they're kind of in this side too, but they're tucked behind the trim. We basically just want to disengage these and kind of work the bottom away from the body of the vent. So you'll have to figure out a way that works well for you. I like to just kind of pinch and push pressure with my finger here and just disconnect them one at a time, and just keep some forward pressure on that trim face. Be careful not to scratch anything. Just want to work your way forward like so. Okay, so we've got all these disconnected now, and it should sit like that. Now you might not be able to see it on the video, it might not be bright enough, but down inside here where my finger is, they actually used like a form of heat riveting, and they've used heat to kind of melt the face to the housing. And so we actually kind of need to break that away, and just by pulling on the face with even pressure, it should just pop off like that. It'll just make a pop sound. And so now that little melted rivet part has popped away, and it doesn't damage the face or anything. And as a note too, this has like a soft finish to it, like a kind of almost like a plasti dip type finish. A lot of the R8 stuff has this, including these slats. So you do want to be careful with hard tools on these surfaces or this surface, as they can get marked up pretty easily. Alright, so now we've got this free, we're going to have to push this trim face forward until the bottom of this is up on this face. So what we want to do here is just get ourselves a little room, and this is where the masking tape is going to come in. And we are going to take a piece of masking tape, and we want to put it on the face of the vent where that tab will be sitting. That way we don't mar it. These gloves, it's kind of difficult to get the edge of this tape up. There we go. So get yourself a nice little piece of tape here, and then if we can just pull the face up a little bit, and then you just want that tape to go down underneath the face. And in a second you'll see what that's going to help with. Okay, so I've just lifted it up a little more, and now what we did was we lifted it up, and now this is sitting on the tape instead of the face of the vent. That way we didn't scratch anything up. So all of our slats are still in place, but just our trim, we lifted it up. It just kind of popped up on me there. You reach a point where it just kind of breaks free and comes up, and you just want that tab sitting on the face of the vent, but with the tape in between. Okay, so this display is going to take the place of just the bottom two slats, and it goes all the way up to the third slat, but the third slat we want to leave in the vent. So at this point you want to start, basically there's a steel bar that runs vertically that connects all of these moving slats together, and we need to get only the bottom two off. And so just with a small screwdriver, I kind of like to just push it off to the side away from the vent, and now we've got our bottom one free. So we can go ahead and remove the bottom one. I just like to take the little pointy end of the screwdriver and just pop one end up, and then you can just slide it out of place like so. And then we're going to do the same thing with the next one. We just want to slightly push that bar to the side and disconnect the second slat. And you do want to disconnect this bar first, because if you try to just pull this slat up before that bar is disconnected, you'll start pulling the other ones, and then you got to work to put that back together, and it can be kind of difficult. So this just seems to be the easiest way without causing extra work for yourself. I'm starting to get disconnected here. At this point, it should just pop off, so I'm going to hold down on these next two up, and just, yeah, there we go. So that popped out. I did push this one out of place, and that can happen, so we'll need to move that back up into place gently. And it looks like the next one moved as well. Typically, if you're just careful, if something like that happens, just gently put them back into place, and you're still good. We're still good now. Okay, so our display cable is going to run to the far left. And one thing I did forget to do is, before you put this tape on, make sure your air flap is open at the back. Mine is not, so I'm gonna have to move that for a second, because we need that flap open for the cable to be able to pass through. Like that. Okay, so we'll want to take our cable, and the pink portion of the cable should be facing towards the bottom of the vent when installed. That way it doesn't get twisted. And if you want to move the vents just slightly to the right to get it started, then you can start working it through as you push the vents back to the left, and it should just fall right through there. We want to feed that cable out through the bottom of the vent, and it should also go to the left side like that of the air flap in the back. And as you're pulling this through, just make sure it's not getting twisted up. That cable should be flat against the side of the housing, that way it doesn't cause any problems for the vertical slats. Okay, so now we just need to get this behind the trim face like so, and it should just set in place. There's a notch, two notches on each side of the display that fall in place right where the vent slats used to sit. We're just going to kind of get that in place so it sits nice and flush down inside of there. Should be good on that. So now you can hold down on the display a little bit, and then you just got to lift that face up just a little bit so you can get your tape back out. And this part's pretty important to avoid problems, is as you're going to let this back down, you don't want this face to be contacted by the tab. So you need to push the tab just enough to get it past, and it'll slide back into place for you like so. And at this point, you just want to work back all your locking tabs on both sides. There's also tabs back in here, and you want to make sure that they go around the back side and not get stuck on the inside of the vent. Sometimes they can want to stay inside of the vent instead of going onto the outside of the vent. So you might just have to push those over the screwdriver. So just go ahead and re-engage those locking tabs. Okay, so we're good on that side, good on the other side. Okay, so since the bottom is actually held together with that heated rivet that we talked about before, let me see if I can get that in the camera, where they got that kind of melded in place. When you press the vent back together, the side locks hold the vent in place correctly. They hold the face on well. At the shop, when I'm doing one of these, I like to put a little bit of glue down in there just to hold it, since I'm already there anyway. So I'll take the glue gun, and just to make sure I don't touch the face or anything, I'll just drop a little bit of glue down in there to hold that back together. You don't have to do this, just a little added security we do when we're doing the installations. should be good. And then the one thing we want to do before we go back to the vehicle is make sure we reinstall this clip right on here like so. That's what's going to hold it in place when you put it in the dash. Alright, so now we can come around to the back of the vent, and like on the other displays, we don't want to pull really tight, and on this one you don't want to really push a bunch of slack in, so you just want it to be, let it sit naturally where it wants to sit, pinch it to the side, making sure it's not twisted either way up in there, and then go ahead and shut the air flap in the back, and that'll pinch the cable into place. And at this point you can just wrap that right around the side here and go ahead and install it in the vehicle. This foam will come back up and take the spot of the air gap that's created, and then the plenum that it sets in will hold that cable right into place, so once it's in, it's good to go. It's not going to move around. When I pre-install them at the shop, I like to take a little pair of snips, and I just make a little like 1/8 inch snip on each side of that cable. Flip the cable out of the way, and then I'll just kind of hollow out that little notch I just created with those 2 snips. Try to make sure it's nice and flat. So what I've done is I just have created a little notch for the cable to ride in, and then I'll also take you know, a knife or a screwdriver or something just to kind of separate the glue right here. You can also just pull it away through fingers gently if you prefer to do it this way, so that we give our a place for the cable to go through. Go ahead and feed that through there. Alright, so this one's pretty much done. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue under this foam here. Hold that in place. And this one is done. We want to make sure our slats work correctly. Left, right, down and up, and then our flap in the back opens and closes correctly. And then we'll just plug the display in one more time just to verify before we install it in the vehicle. Looks like it's working correctly. Yep. Alright, so this one's ready. Let us know below what you guys think of these videos. We want them to be as helpful as possible. You can check out our website, p3gauges.com, and we're also on Instagram, @p3gauges. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us. Thanks, guys.